Hello, I'm Richard Lieberman, and I'm sitting here at the LaGuardia and Wagner Archives, LaGuardia Community College, which is part of the City University of New York, and I'm the director of the archives, and I'm here to introduce one of the documents that we house at the archive, which is a film that was donated to us by Buddy Beame, son of Mayor Beame. And it's a film about change, which is what we study in history. And this was the moment that the Democratic Party and the control of the Democratic Party by Tammany Hall went out of business. So what you're about to see is a moment in time when everything changed in New York in terms of politics. The movie was a silent movie when it was brought to the archives. I invited Buddy Beame and Julius Edelstein, who was deputy mayor under Wagner right after this film was made in '61. I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that what you're about to view is a celebration of the downfall of Tammany Hall and the rise of reform politics in New York. Now here's a formal moment of Wagner with being sworn in with Susan, who was his right, our left, and Bobby over his shoulder, and then Duncan. Was this footage used in like newsreel footage, movie tone? I mean, was this then sent out to TV or?
I'm sure it was. It may have been. This may be from a TV station. I don't even know.
Oh, how did you? Yeah, I want to know. How did you get this, buddy? I mean, you were the one
you
brought it here.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, we got this from you. You brought this here one day, and
well, there's a good audience picture.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know where it came from, or whether it was officially shot.
Who is this fellow next to Wagner? Do we know?
I don't know whether it's somebody interviewing him from
Yes,
a
I don't know
television
him.
station, and I don't recall him.
Hmm. So there were TV cameras there too that night?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
Look
radio.
at all of the microphones there. That will tell you how many, the minimum number that were there.
And radio as well.
I presume so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's the senator over the shoulder of the mayor.
Here's a good shot of your father.
Yeah.
Do you want to add something to what Julius said about what your father brought to the ticket in terms of?
Well, as he said, he had been budget director and I guess had been well thought of in that area. And he became a natural when they were looking to fill the ticket. In those days, you did balance the ticket.
And what about Scravane? What did he bring to the ticket?
Well, for one thing,
The fellow in the middle here.
yeah, he was Italian
From Queens.
from Queens.
Very important.
And
There you go. That's important.
Catholic
from Manhattan.
Yeah.
Jew from Brooklyn. It's called
You've
the
got
balance
it.
ticket in those days.
So I see. So and was that sort of thought out when Wagner was putting together his ticket that we need to balance the
Well,
ticket?
there was one person whom you don't see because he was someplace else, who was very influential in forming the ticket, and that was Alex Rose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a person who was very instrumental in the campaign, very important to it, who is not in this picture and will not be in it. And that's Lou Harris.
Oh, yes.
And there's the mayor with his sons.
Yeah. And
Lou Harris and Alex Rose
Are not in the picture.
were both very, very influential in the ticket formation and in the strategy of the campaign.
correct.
This is the Lou Harris that everybody thinks of
The
today
pollster.
as the pollster, and Alex Rose, who was at that time,
Head of the Liberal Party.
and would they be at the mansion but just staying out of the
I
picture?
think Alex Rose is here. I thought I caught a glimpse of him at one point, but
Mhm.
in
Well, I
terms
do
of
remember that he had separate, the Liberal Party had separate headquarters, to which Wagner went. David Dubinsky was there, and we went, and he got sworn in there too.
Mhm. So what's your explanation for why you did so well, buddy? Every newspaper's against you. You've got candidates who were serving, who were in was not a situation of outsiders. These were insiders that were up there. I mean, Beame, Scrivain, Wagner were insiders. Could possibly be seen as insiders. What's your explanation of why this team did so well, given that, as you look at it, they could have failed?
Well, it was a very, very interesting time. If you think of 1960 as some sort of watershed in American politics where television becomes incredibly important. You had 5 county leaders who always preferred the shadows and always felt they could control things and manipulate things without going public, and their public persona was not something saleable. And they basically chose candidates who were of the same general characteristics. They were not necessarily photogenic, and I think one of the things that Mayor Wagner did extremely well was adjust to this age. He had a naturally, I don't want to say benign personality, but he was very difficult to dislike, is one way to say it. He was just very nice and accommodating. And
I would say he had a benign personality.
yeah,
I like your adjective.
okay. Strike the qualifications. And people related to that, and we were coming to a time where more people were feeling a direct connection to the people they saw on television, and much less of a connection to the standard old-fashioned kind of political candidates who could remain sort of hidden and a persona put out there. You couldn't do that anymore. What you really were came across. And I think the 3 of them came across very, very well. They came across for really who they were.
But if I may interrupt just to put this in, that there were 3 candidates who had the characteristics and the power of projection that you named, but one of them was one of 3 who had tremendous appeal nationwide as well as locally. Lehman and Mrs. Roosevelt, who had, I mean, she was at the top of her influence and reputation with the United Nations and whatnot. And they had tremendous political appeal at the local level because they had appeal at the national level.
Absolutely true.